Derek, clearly all that you promote through your profession and your work out there in the world sounds like a page from Sathya Sai Speaks. It's inspired from the teachings of Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, your guru and your guide. But before I ask you how and when you were drawn to Baba, let's talk briefly about your early childhood. Sadly, it was marred by trauma and pain and some of the most dreadful experiences a child can possibly undergo. But look at you today. You're beaming with joy and energy, and you're a transformational therapist. Wow, haven't you come a long way, Derek?
Yeah, I absolutely have. I think I realised very early on in life that karma was a big part. And so I accepted all these experiences in this life as my karma for deeds that I may have done in a past incarnation. And because of that, I set myself free, and I didn't so much buy into the drama and the pain, and I just transformed the pain into the love of service for other people who would perhaps go through the same types of events, and I could show them how I stepped out of it and show them how to step out of it also.
So that, your work actually reflects your genuine love for wisdom and your your Irish charm and your positive outlook. Now, how did you use pain as a tool for growth?
Well, again, I just realised that pain was part of our experience, and pain was a messenger to tell us we were out of love. And so I didn't see it as an enemy. I seen it as just a messenger, a bit like, when you get a headache. It's only telling you something is not right in your body, maybe a chemical or something. And once you listen to the messenger, then the pain disappears. So the pain is just a messenger to say something is out of alignment.
It's a symptom.
It's a symptom.
Of a bigger problem.
Yes. Yes.
How did Sai Baba come into the picture of your life story?
He very dramatically, actually, as he has seemingly done for a lot of people. But I had just graduated as a psychotherapist, and I was going on for further studies.
In Ireland?
In Ireland. And I needed to get a book called The Pathology of Everyday Life by Carl Gustav Jung.
Okay.
And so I went into a bookshop one Sunday with my daughter and my wife Linda, and as I was reaching for the top shelf, a book literally jumped off the bottom shelf and hit me on the foot. And as I was bending to pick it up, my daughter gave me incense sticks, and on it was Sai Baba incense sticks. I had never heard of Sai Baba or anything. And when I picked up the book was Sai Baba, Man of Miracles. So I bought the book, brought it home, and I got really angry actually, because I thought I had just found the devil incarnate. I actually thought that people were crazy, because obviously being brought up in Ireland as a Catholic, I went, this is the Antichrist.
Right.
So I began to read the book, and I was moved by the book, but then I got angry and I threw the book in the bin. So the next day, all my clients cancelled. 7 clients I had booked in, and they all cancelled. And so I went to my office to clean up, and I picked up the book again, and I heard this voice in my head saying, why don't you write to me? But it wasn't my voice as usual. It was actually an Indian voice.
With an accent and
with the whole Indian, why don't you write to me? So I went, oh.
Who's that?
Who's that? What is this? So I just wrote a letter saying, if you are who they say you are, send me some of this ash, this vibhuti, and I will come. And I put it in an envelope, and I put Sai Baba, India, because that's the only address I had. So I put on a stamp, and I went and I posted the letter, and I rang a colleague going, please make sure they give me a comfortable room when they class me as schizophrenic. I've just written to God. He lives in India, and he looks like Michael Jackson or something like this. So we were joking. And then 3 months had passed, and nothing, and I had forgotten this event. And then I was at a Mind, Health, Body exhibition, and this man just tapped me on the shoulder and said, you're Derek O Neill? I said, I am. How? I know you? He said, you know of me? Please come, sit. So I sat down, and he began to tell me everything about my life, all secrets, stuff I had never shared with anybody, and I went into complete fear. And then he said, you asked for vibhuti, and he slid it in across the table, and he said, now you must come. And I just was overwhelmed with fear, all the emotions coming together.
I can imagine. What did this person look like?
He was Irish, but he was wearing an orange shirt, that I do know.
Orange shorts?
Orange shirt,
Shirt.
yes. And so I grabbed it in and I ran. And I ran and I went to a coffee shop, and I'm sitting in the coffee shop, and it was the first time in my life I had drank coffee, because it was such an occasion. And I'm shaking and I'm going, what's just happened? And my colleague is with me, and I don't believe it. I think it's mind play, because as the psychotherapist I'm thinking I'm losing it. But then the door opens in this cafe, and an Indian lady walks in wearing a green sari. And at the time in Ireland you didn't have many Indian people. It wasn't as multicultural. And she walked in, she looked at me, she walked right up to the table, and she put her hands in namaskar, and she went, haven't I just seen you sitting with Sai Baba at the mind? And I just, whoa. And so I just drove home.
She saw him as Sai Baba. You
Yes.
saw an Irish gentleman in an orange shirt.
Yes.
Whoa.
And so 2 weeks later, I was on a plane, and I arrived at his Whitefield ashram, and I went to take some accommodations, and there was 2 old gentlemen sitting to take in. And when I walked in, one of the gentlemen screamed, Sai-ram, chapel. And I have no reference to chapel. I think it's a church.
Chapel is a church.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going, I'm in a church or
Slippers,
something.
yeah.
So he's telling me to take off my slippers. So when I take them off and go back in, he's this gentleman who's now at the bringing up all my issues. It was a very good analytical technique he did. He now so sweet, and he says, Sai-ram, Derek, you have returned. And I went, what? Hang on. My passport is still in my pocket. I haven't introduced myself. How is this man calling me
And
Derek?
it's your first trip to India.
First trip. And I said to him, sorry, you must be mistaken. I have never been to India before. And he said, sir, you have been to India many times and many lifetimes. Swami has been awaiting your return. And that was my introductory to Swami. And then
there was another sequence of mysterious events.
oh, the whole trip was mysterious. Like, it went from there where I left my bags and I went. It was Whitefield, where he has all the big pictures of himself, and I went in, but I had taken off the chapels at this stage, so I learned very quickly. And I'm there, and I'm standing with my back to a gate. And next does a big commotion, and people are running here and here. And when I turn, who's standing at the coming out the gate? Only Swami. And so my immediate reaction is to put out my hand to say hello.
A nice Irish warm
hello.
greeting.
And one of the Savidaus hit me on the chest and sent me like flying, and I'm going, what? So that was my introductory. And
Did Swami exchange glances with you?
he laughed.
Okay.
He laughed at the fact that I had just been completely, what would we say, hit by divine love. And yes, and then 2 days after that, I was meditating on the roof of the male hostel in Whitefield.
Okay.
And a man approached me and said, I have to initiate you into Karuna Reiki. And I said, oh, okay.
Did you know this person from before?
Never met him either.
Was he an Indian gentleman?
He was Russian.
Russian, okay.
And so I said, oh, okay. And he said, meet me tomorrow after darshan on this roof. So I did. And he initiated me. And it was a very powerful initiation, and all sorts of activations or stuff happened.
Karuna Reiki.
Yes. So I don't know what it was, but I just felt very powerful. And then he gave me some symbols, and I had forgotten them. So about 2 days later, I went to where he said he was staying, and I knocked on the door, and a Buddhist was in this room, the accommodation room, and I said, is the Russian man, old gentleman, here? And the Buddhist said to me, oh, are you the young man he initiated on the roof 2 days back. I said, yes. And he said, he's gone home. He had an interview with Sai Baba 7 years ago. And Sai Baba told him one day a gentleman will come and he would know this man beyond reason. And he was to initiate this man into Karuna. And he would not be allowed return to his home until this man came.
And this man was Derek O'Neill, obviously.
And seemingly it was me. So I still sort of go like, I don't know what that's all about.
Which year was this in Derek? Do you
was-
remember the date?
Yes, it was 1999. Yes.
Summer.
March.
March of 1999.
Yes.
I see. Okay. When you went back
Mm-hmm.
out there, what did you tell people? This was like a life-altering experience.
Yes. I was unfortunately very excited. And
Anybody would be.
I wanted to share with the world that there was this extraordinarily holy man who could do weird and wonderful stuff. And he had teachings that were, you know, healing by example. He didn't preach. He just led by example. He fed the poor. He built hospitals. He built schools. Everything was free. He had a whole different outlook on life. And so I began to do workshops to bring people to tell them. And seemingly, I might be the root cause for several thousands of people coming to Swami to investigate the little orange-robed watermelon. So that's what happened. And you know, the
How did people
interesting...
respond when you just told complete strangers there's this person, wonderful person out there who can do all this?
Well, I think actually some of them believed because of the emotion and the truth, you know, because truth has a vibration.
It
That
does.
even if you have doubt, there's something about truth that goes,
The conviction
Yes.
brings it about.
yes. And so the interesting thing was the way Swami, if you like, blew it open. Because what he did is 2001, the Twin Towers incident happened. And then Linda, my wife, and I, we went to find out what the psyche of America would be like after such an
Okay.
event. And through a sequence of events, I was asked, did I do workshops? And I said, yes. So I did a workshop and 75 people showed up, and I just taught Swami's teachings, everything that I had learned and read. And they were so excited for these teachings that 6 weeks later when I returned, 780 people showed up with no advertisement to do this workshop. And we only had room for 300. So there was pandemonium and people were trying to get into the building and the lifts broke and there was all sorts of... And it led to me being invited to speak at the United Nations headquarters in New York about my opinion as to what was the root cause of people wanting to do that to other people.
The violence.
The violence. And I said, honestly, I said, I believe that the root cause was rich people stealing from poor people and big egos bashing down small egos, and that unless the world took the teachings of love, truth, peace, non-violence and right conduct, that this is only the start of a new age of violence that would become more and more dramatic.
I see. Did you bring up Swami's name? Did it come up in the...
Yes, I did.
And how did you introduce him?
I introduced him as Sathya Sai Baba, a holy man in India. And interestingly enough, I was challenged very strongly by one person about all the allegations about Swami and such likes. And so I played a psychological technique on the person, and I went, okay, are you the person that they wrote about that stole all the money from that charity? And the person got really angry and
Rattled and
irate,
everything.
and I went, oh, you see? Paper never refuses ink. People can write what they like,
Right.
but the truth will set you free. So then I said, have you been to India? No. Have you been to see this man or his work? No. Well, then you are ignorant. Please sit down. When you have gone, then you come back to one of my workshops and challenge me, and then we can talk. But until you've seen, anybody can tell you stories, but when you have the experience, then it is real. So that seemed to calm the fires very quickly, and I never really got challenged after that.
Derek, you haven't sat down and had a one-on-one with Swami at any particular time. However, you're always connected with him, and you did have a personal connection in the darshan line. Tell us about it.
Well, actually, I've strangely enough, I've been to India now. This will be my 45th trip to India.
You're an Indophile.
Yes, yes. And every time I came, he always came and spoke to me in darshan lines. Nearly every time. One day for 9 days in a row, he gave me the front row, and he came and he talked to me about my what the work I was doing, and he was happy and all of this. And then he gave me the ring, and
which you're wearing,
which is the nine planet
gems.
ring. Yes. And then when he started using his car, he nearly ran me over in the car because he called me and I got so excited. I'm hanging out of his window and I'm talking to him about having difficulties about visas to work in America. And he says, I'll fix. So he not only did he fix, but he actually got me an O1 visa. Now, if you don't know what an O1 visa is, to be issued in America with an O1 visa means that you are being acknowledged as the top 1% in the world at your profession. So I now have an O1 visa that acknowledges...
He fixed it really well, didn't he?
Oh, well, when he does work, he usually does it good.
Perfectly well. Very nice. And then how do you now stay so connected? You're totally tuned to Swami all the time. How do you do it?
Well, I believe that Swami needed to leave his form.
Why do you say that?
In order for us to understand his teaching that we are God. His primal teaching was we were God, but we didn't know it yet. And there were so many people stuck on the form that when he became formless, he now flows through every cell in our being. Not that he wasn't doing that when he was in form, but more people now are feeling his presence all over the world because they're not stuck in the mind form of chasing the form, interview, all of this. So there's more peace and shanti in people's minds as to Swami being able to come.
Now, you have over 30 years of martial arts, psychotherapy and life coaching expertise, and you also have a deep understanding of both the Western and the Eastern philosophies. Based on all this, you have created this new psychology called Transformational Therapy. It's a sword brush technique in which you use a blade to cut away old patterns and brush and help people brush new scenarios. Would you care to tell our listeners what is it more about?
The sword and the brush technique came about from I trained as a samurai.
Yes, sensei.
And a sensei samurai. And
what have you not done? You've been to military school, you've been a psychotherapist, you're a martial arts expert, you work with FBI, you've been to places.
Well, I've been a busy life, but I'm here to wear this body out in service, and I'll be happy when I too are poured into some river somewhere to flow back into the
Eternity.
Atma. But the sword and the brush actually comes from a samurai. The truth of the samurai warrior was he was so pure and so connected to his God that he would only ever draw the sword when death was imminent. In other words, once that sword came out, either he or the enemy had to die, but something had to die. So I learned that by talking to people at a certain point, an energy envelops them, an energy of truth that brings truth and fear in conjunction and fighting each other. So that's when I produced the sword. And I cut away a trauma or something that's no longer necessary in their life. And then I empowered them to choose their future by handing them a brush. So the brush is a paintbrush. And I get them now to paint the life that they wish to live going forward. And this empowers them to go inside and ask, should I do service work? What should I do with my life? And then they can paint this into their...
Are we capable of painting our own destinies?
Yes.
What about karma? If you're destined to be someplace and you want to paint a different picture, what happens then?
I believe that at the point when you actually realize that you are the creator, because that is the essence of the teaching, then karma just becomes the movement of an action, and it's actually the motivation that will determine its outcome. We call it the cause and effect.
Would you care to explain it a bit?
Cause and effect. When we're at cause, it means we're empowered or we're in our God selves. When we're at effect, it means that we are victims. We feel something is happening from the outside. When we're at cause, it's happening from the inside. Once we accept responsibility for our actions, the cause, right, then the effect disappears. And the effect is misalignments, negativity, karmic debt. All of this disappears very quickly when you're coming from cause, which is to understand that we are all one 1 billion trillion cells in one divine body. So karma does not enter the equation once you've lifted it into the cause effect.
So you take that's when you can take up the brush and paint your own future.
Yes, yes.
I see. Derek, I was reading up on your website, and there's some two quotable quotes which I found interesting and intriguing. Perhaps you could explain.
Yes.
Always expect the unexpected and life becomes exciting again. Now, most of us don't like change. We like things to fall the way we conceived them or imagined or fantasized.
Yes.
So why do you advocate that one should expect the unexpected to make life exciting again?
Okay. I think this was an absolutely Swami teaching where he said, don't expect anything from me because I will only disappoint you. And
he said that?
He said that to me in Darshan one day. And it confused me. And 3 days later he came and he went, "You confused?" And I went, "Yes, I am." And he said, life is ever changing.
Okay.
Everything is in transit. Nothing is permanent except the Atma.
Okay.
So expect everything to change whilst expecting nothing, and just allow it to come to you and stop grabbing. Stop grasping like the monkey, grasping for the fruits of your actions. And he said, then life will become exciting because the God being will awaken and you will just sit and it'll come to you. And now you will have so much more energy to serve others because you're grasping little or none. So that's what that teaching meant.
Very profound. And then you also say we are more powerful than we think, but we are more powerful when we come together. That just resonates Swami's teaching.
Yes.
Unity.
Again, it's satsang. It's about the understanding that if we have a big piece of rock to move, one person is not able to remove the rock. If many come together, they will remove the rock. So when we come together, we are like, I call it the light bulb effect. So every person is 1 wattage. So when 2 people come together, it's 2 wattage. And we travel through if 1,000 people come up, it's a 1,000 watt light bulb. And I believe it travels up to about 10,000. And at 10,000, it blows out into what we call the mirror of the 1,000 lotus flower. And what that is if you know anything about lighthouses, that when they're guiding in ships, that light bulb is only a 1,000 watt light bulb. And it is actually the mirrors that make it travel so far out into the ocean. So the mirrors are the people we meet in satsang. So when they come in, I don't like that person. Why? You've never met this person. Why is this happening? Because some aura, some energy is exchanging on a deeper level. And so it is your duty now to serve that person instead of not liking them, and you will grow.
Okay.
And they will grow as well.
I see.
So that's what it means. By coming together, you have a better opportunity to learn and support each other at up times and down times.
I never thought of teamwork and unity at such a deep level. That's very profound and interesting indeed. Now let's talk about your program called NLP, the Neuro Linguistic Programming, and I can see you have drawn it from Sai Baba's teachings completely. Well, and you have used it for your workshops with the FBI and the CBI.
Yes.
CIA, I beg your pardon.
Yes, yeah.
Please tell us about it.
Well, recently I was asked to give a talk to 75 auditors, tax auditors in the USA.
So IRS.
The IRS. And the conference was about fraud. And the FBI were there, the CIA were there, and these auditors were there. And I basically was teaching them that people are not numbers. That it is really important to meet the person as a person first, and for you to understand that we are all programmed in different ways. And so when you first meet somebody, you must take time to go into rapport, is the word, with them, okay? And I taught them how to do that by sitting, mirroring and matching their client, to have them talk to their client in a way where they say, I too pay taxes, and this is why I pay taxes. There was a very interesting learning actually for me there, because the 75 auditors were very passionate about collecting taxes, and I was wondering why. And then I found out by talking to them throughout the day that a lot of them have been in service, military service, police service and all of this, and they see in so much poverty that they believe that if people paid their taxes fairly, then children would have good education, good health, food, medicine and water. So actually they were in alignment with Swami's teachings, with it, but being said in a different way. So I taught them how to open up people so that we didn't feel afraid, because once you see IRS on an envelope, even if you're the most innocent person, fear will arise. So I showed them how to get past that fear, to calm people down, and then people would become more helpful. And some people in the room were actually moved to tears because they didn't realise that they could remain human whilst doing such a systematic job. So
even if it's governance with millions involved, numbers, all computerized, you can still bring in the human element.
Absolutely, vitally important. And that's what I was saying. Anytime you get the opportunity to actually talk to somebody rather than send them a letter, that this is a better way to communicate.
Derek, you were the recipient of the coveted, highly prestigious Variety International Humanitarian Award recently. And this is because of the work you do through your foundation called the SQ Foundation, which SQ standing for Spiritual Quotient. Tell us first about the award ceremony, because it really struck a chord with us. We played that acceptance speech on Radio Sai as you were chanting Asato Ma Sadgamaya, and you were saying Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. It was so wonderful to hear you say that in such an august gathering. Let's talk about that first.
Okay, well, basically the award is given to somebody who this organisation believes has really helped humanity in a profound way.
And the likes of Winston Churchill, Sir
Winston Churchill, J. Edgar Hoover,
Lady Diana,
Frank Sinatra, Lady Diana, all like important people.
Have received
Not
it.
me, important people. So when I heard I had been nominated for this award, I was over the moon, because Bill Clinton, Bono, famous star, all these people had been nominated. So I was happy just to be associated with this name group. And never, not in a million years, why? You don't need awards for doing what your heart tells you is right. But I was happy. And so when I heard I had won the award, what do you do with such information? And I'm going, oh my Lord. So I said, you know, I would use the opportunity of the award to remind people of the service work that we should be doing, and maybe the way we should be doing it. And so it was an extraordinarily moving night to have 550 people in the room from all over the world, and all, like, there was one man in the room, he was involved in having Nelson Mandela released from prison, and he was receiving an award 2 months after mine from his government or something, and he actually asked could he use some of the speech in his acceptance award for that.
Nice.
And so I was saying, it's not my speech, it is not my words, these words are channeled from the divine. And I said, use whatever you like. So yes, so it was an incredible experience to have such a powerful gathering. And what was most delightful for me, because I really didn't need the award was just an award, it was how people in the room responded to the words that had come from the Bhagavad Gita and the Puranas and the Swami, and they were spontaneously clapping.
And there was a standing ovation.
A standing ovation, because they really took to the part about, you know, from darkness to light, and from ignorance to wisdom, and from death to immortality. That really resonated with them. And I know that one or two people who were well known to Barack Obama went and showed him this piece, and maybe my ego was in place or something, but I get this sneaky impression that his Diwali speech yesterday,
Yes.
where he used that part, may have been that he might have known it before, but he might have been reminded of it again, and
yeah.
he utilised it in such a way. And to hear somebody as important and loving as I believe he is, you know, to not as you say, not only address that part, but to say Ram
Instead
and
of
not
Rama.
Rama.
Yes.
I went, here's somebody who's done some really good research, not just somebody writing his stuff and putting it down. So I believe the world is heading into the golden age of love, peace, truth, non-violence and right conduct. And we have a leader in body who's maybe actually able to do that.
And how does it feel to be the chosen instrument to, you know, sow these little seeds of Sai consciousness wherever you go?
It's you know, it feels terrible at times.
Why do you say that?
Because I spend so much time checking the ego. You know, because it's a very strange to come from where I came from, a small little unknown, to now talking to world leaders and Hollywood actors and politicians and it's like, is this a dream? Hang on, tap here, tap on the wood. What's going on? Is this ego? You know, because I've even been offered millions of dollars from television people to go and teach the teachings on television, but I had to refuse because it was too commercialized. And I went, I'll go on, I'll teach, that's no problem, but do we really need to sell people more t-shirts and caps and stuff? Maybe not. So yes, it's quite a journey.
And you do have a radio show of your own, The Way with Derek O'Neill.
Yes.
On Voice America, and it's doing extremely well.
Yeah, seemingly in 13 weeks I got 100,000 listeners or something. And the man in charge of the radio, who's doing it 25 years, said in his 25 years he had never seen an unknown bring that listenership in 13 weeks. That type of listenership should be taken in the region of 9 months to 15 months. So
do you sense a great hunger for Sai teachings there, or spiritual nurturing?
I believe the world wants the teachings, but I believe the only way we will actually get to the audience that we need to get to is to take words like karma and spiritual words out of the teachings,
Okay.
but keep the essence of the teachings alive.
So you sanitize the
Yes. So instead of calling it karma,
say action,
call it cause and effect.
cause and effect.
You do an action, you're at cause.
Why would people
here's
be
the effect.
turned off by the word karma? It's very Hindu-centric.
They're turned off, I think, because the New Age movement, if you like, they made it a little too sort of dreadful. Because it's interesting, and I love studying, I love testing. And if you say to the majority of people on the planet, and I ask people to test this for themselves, what do you believe karma is? They will all go to a negative connotation. So they don't realize there is positive karma
I see.
so much. And so by using cause and effect, that they seem to understand, and it's not as frightening, because people are frightened by the siddhas and the powers and the stuff that happens when you do focus on your heart and begin to serve.
I see. Derek, I noticed that you're mentioning the New Age movement and you make a conscious effort to steer clear of it because you're very particular that the wisdom you are spreading is rooted in the pure Vedic tradition and
Yes.
goes back to the Gita and
Yes.
such.
Yes.
Why this focus? Why are you so particular about maintaining the organic thing, although there is a larger market for the New Age spin?
Yes. Well, the first thing is, of course, that I believe in being able to trace something back to its origin, because from there its power comes, like the Ganges. You know, from its origin, everybody's trying to get back to the origin or the source. When you read the likes of the Bhagavad Gita or the holy books, the Mahabharata and this, the teachings that are there absolutely apply exactly the same way now. But if you put too much of a spin on it, you're only causing confusion around something that is very, very clear and
Organic.
very organic and easy to understand. It's easy to understand. And so to bring it from A to B with as least amount of spin or disruption
Or fluff?
is the power.
I see.
Whilst and in that power comes the awakening of spirit, and the money value is unimportant. And so when people awaken, then the money comes either way. And that's why I'm now working in 11 countries throughout the world. Every day of my life, because I'm allowed to continue to breed, I feed 35,720 children every day get fed because of the money that I make traveling the world teaching workshops. I feed them, educate them, clothe them. This month alone, I've just opened a water tower in Mangalakara school in Puttaparthi, built 10 new classrooms, built a dining hall for 300 children. I'm opening a school in Bangalore. We've built a bridge in Peru called the Linda Link Bridge, where the two communities were completely cut off from each other. One had water, the other did not. And they had to drive 75 or 80 miles in order to get around. So we built a bridge, so now they can commune with each other. And we sent water across, so now we have thousands and thousands of people drinking clean water. And all of that just in the last 6 months.
So you're just attempting at an individual level to replicate what Bhagwan did for millions.
Absolutely. He was my absolute, I have to tell you, I did not see him as God. I seen him as an absolute essence of what God would look like and act like and be like if God was walking on this earth. And I went, I want some of that. And so I know I don't probably sound humble, but I really mean in a very humble way, I'm being allowed to do this work. And hopefully when my time comes to pass from this lifetime, there might be an angel to pick me up and bring me off and say, hey, sit at these feet, you didn't do too bad this lifetime. That's my gamble.
So you said you didn't see him as God, but you saw him as somebody who would be like, this is what God would have looked like.
Yes.
So if I just asked you to paraphrase, who is Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba for you?
I believe he is the essence of what God is.
What's the difference between Godness and the essence?
It's the reason I'm saying it the way I am is because by doing so, you're including all the gods and all the nations and all the religions to know that God's essence has not got a single name. I believe that all gods, all essence, all is one, and all names and all forms are God.
Now, earlier we were talking about your neuro-linguistic program that has become very popular, and in this you use a set of tools and training that helps people to utilize their mind, body and language to bring yourself back into alignment. You know, we know of cars being aligned, tires being aligned. Now, how do you align yourself using language, mind and body? Would you care to elaborate, please?
Well, it's the, I call it the neuros is the cells in our body. And science and religion is now coming very much together more and more and more and more. And there is now scientific evidence that the cells in our bodies are all talking to each other. So if one of them has a negative conversation, it's having a negative conversation with other cells, and then illness comes or out of alignment. So once we know that this is happening in our neural system, the language we now speak will affect the mind, body and spirit. So the language is that inner voice that keeps saying, you're not good enough to do this. Who do you think you are? Are you mad saying that you're some sort of good person? This is the voice. And so what we do is we learn to speak to that voice, to quieten it down and to come in alignment with the truth. Which is we are capable of anything we wish if we wish it from the motivation of love for humanity.
Now, this can go to another extreme where people start really taking themselves way too seriously.
Yes.
How do you draw a line?
Well, the people who take themselves too serious, I call them the education people. Okay? And using Swami's quotes as well, I say, you know, education should lead to wisdom and wisdom to character. And so when you're educated, you're stuffed with crap and facts. But the truth is that when you get educated, you actually spend most of your life taking this education out of your head because it's useless. And you go back into the nature of your atmic being, and then real education comes up and you can serve humanity in a much stronger and much more direct way.
Derek O'Neill, you train so many world leaders. What makes a good leader?
I believe what makes a good leader is they have big ears, like the Buddha, for listening. And they have a filter system that they have worked on, that when it travels through, they know the core issue and then they speak. So that they don't speak before it's gone through their own system. So a really good world leader listens first and then acts later.
He processes the information using
Yes.
a special filtration.
Yes. Yes, that's what makes it. And a good world leader, when they speak words that are not empty. Like Obama's acceptance speech from when he was elected. Like, I wonder when I sort of spoke and I said to him, there's only one religion, the religion of love, one caste, the caste of humanity, one God, omnipresent. Huh? I wonder, was that what he might be saying when he said, whether you're black or you're white, gay or straight, I wonder if that was his interpretation of that teaching.
But you did mention it to him?
Well, I did.
In a personal meeting?
When I was shaking his hand in the Apollo Theatre, when Al Green was playing there, and President Obama was there to give a speech about what he believed was the way forward for America.
And he listened with both his large ears to
Oh,
you.
I'm sure. Like even his security men seemed to step back a little when we were shaking hands. So, and the aura seemed to keep them so that we had a good connection. And you know, Swami does it all. I just shake the hand. He travels through, and who knows? It's all great fun. I just enjoy watching, as I say, somebody in such a public arena use that type of language, because I don't know whether I was deaf, but I don't think I've heard many world leaders speak like this in a long time.
And I know how much excitement that picture of President Obama generated when he spoke at the Hard Rock Cafe against the background of a Sai Baba picture
Yes.
on the top of the wall,
Yes,
right behind him.
absolutely. And the phrase, I think, was, "Who loves you?" Well, who loves you? We love him. You know, we love anybody who is genuinely trying to change humanity and uplift them with service.
In the aftermath of the Mahasamadhi, what do you see as Baba's greatest legacy?
I think his greatest legacy that he has left behind is every movement of his body, every word that he has spoken, and every action that he has taken, because it is there, it is solid, it's in written word, it's in audio, it's in television, it's in buildings, it's in projects, it is in hearts. His greatest legacy was just allowing us to witness him in action.
And do you see the legacy bearing an impact on the future destiny of humanity?
Absolutely. I absolutely.
To what extent?
I believe that through his colleges, that he is training young minds in a pure way to bring new forms of economics, new forms of accountancy, new forms of psychology, new forms to the world, to show that, hey, there's enough for us all. Stop fighting. We'll share, and everybody will have food, medicine, and water. Why fear when he is here? He's gone nowhere except one place. He's now hiding where people will not look, into their own heart. But if you have the courage to look, you'll find him there. But he's only small, like a mustard seed. But he can become like a big tree if you find him.
Profound words. Derek O'Neill, an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, and it's all Swami's will.
Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. Thank you.
Thank you.